as we track the success of all the clients we work with, we could see a radical shift. It was almost like a pendulum swing upwards when the mentality shifted.
What happened as a result is she started making sale after sale after sale of offers in her sweet spot.
When our clients were going from record revenue month after record revenue month after record revenue month, sometimes having 6-figure years, and then all of a sudden having record revenue months and a 6-figure day. How many of you guys know that that's a whole new altitude that our minds and our bodies and the way that we operate has to adjust to? How is it possible to go from making 6 figures in a year to making 6 figures in a day? Is that a question worth answering? If so, you are in the right spot, because rather than giving you a theoretical answer, what we're actually going to do is we're going to break down a real life example of an entrepreneur couple that we have the privilege of working with inside our coaching program, and just show you guys some of the biggest shifts that have helped this couple going from making 6 figures in a year to just recently closing their very first 6-figure deal in one day. Yes. That's what we're going to share with you guys today, because we like to reverse engineer the success of some of today's most influential and successful power couples out there. And we thought that this would be helpful for you. And just as a little hint, the ways that they did this, the things that they did are very different than what a lot of people are telling entrepreneurs to do these days. So I'm glad that you guys are here, and let's get started.
All right. So if you're still getting to know us, my name is Ariel and this is my husband, Kyle. And as we've been together for over 11 years now, during that time, we've been able to be behind the scenes helping companies scale by over $77 million online. During that time, we have learned what works and what doesn't work to maintain a thriving business and a thriving marriage as an entrepreneurial couple. Today, we're very blessed to help entrepreneurial couples all over the world grow businesses in a way that keeps them aligned and allows them to free up more time for the things that they love most. And we get to coach amazing clients like the client that we coach currently, who just celebrated their first 6-figure day last week. So what we're going to do today is we're going to walk you through those 6 main shifts that client did in order for you to see what's really working now and what has allowed them to go from, again, 6-figure years to actually closing a 6-figure day themselves.
Yeah, because what we did is we looked at what our clients did to go from making 6 figures in a year to making 6 figures in a day. And there were 6 primary shifts that they made in their business as well as in their relationship to actually experience this. And our goal is to equip you with them today, so that way you can follow in the footsteps of other successful couples, and you can model what works to see the benefits in your business and your relationship as well. So the 6 shifts are as follows. Shift number 1 is...
the shift number 1 is what we would say more of a mindset shift. And this is going from a might have sort of mentality to a must-have mentality.
That's right. Many entrepreneurs out there run into the issue of having maybe a hope of one day becoming financially free, having a hope of maybe one day having a successful business that gives them the freedom and the time to take off and be with their family. And we as entrepreneurs, we have these dreams, but there's a difference between those that turn those dreams into our reality and those that do not. And the primary difference that we've seen are those who make those goals and those dreams a must, not a might, not a should, not a maybe, not a meh, it may happen. No. What happened is with this specific client is they decided to make it a must have, not a might have. Now, I want to know, have you experienced this as well in your life? Have you gotten to a point in your life where you ran into a circumstance, or maybe you found yourself in an unfortunate type of circumstance where you finally said, you know what? No is no. I'm putting my foot down. This will never happen again. If I could be vulnerable with you guys, I could share an example from our own life. I remember one of the most traumatic, heartbreaking days for me in my entire life was a day where I had to basically cancel the purchase agreement to buy our first house. Now, why was that so painful? It was painful because up until this point, Ariel and I were doing very well in our business, and we had a lot of things going. And because we were doing so well in business, we were getting ready to buy a house. It was more money than we could have ever imagined to buy a house, but we had it and we felt really good. However, over time, what happened is that because I was dealing with some very traumatic, very deep personal and spiritual issues, I was taking my foot off the gas. I was taking my eye off the ball when it came to business, and our finances quickly dwindled. And because that happened, we found ourselves in a position where even after, signing the agreement and moving forward, we had all intentions of buying that house. Some things happened in the business to completely wipe out our finances. And I had to look at Ariel in the eye and say, hey, we can't move forward on this. And I don't know if you guys know how debilitating or how deflating that feels as a man to look at the woman that you love right in their eyes and see the joy leave their eyes when we could not move forward. Now, of course, Ariel understood.
Yeah.
She understood, but at the same time, she was disappointed. She was so excited to finally have a house of her own. And when we had to decline that purchase agreement, it broke her heart and it broke mine.
Yeah.
Why do I bring that up today? Because that was a moment for me where I said, you know what? Enough's enough. That will never happen again. Up until that point, I knew I needed to make some changes. I knew I needed to hire a coach to help me with some of the mindset things I was working through. I knew I needed to hire someone to help me, but I kept putting it off and I kept putting it off. But that moment, that day was the day where investing in a coach and getting help was no longer a might have or a should have. It was a must have.
Yeah.
So since then, all glory to God, I'm so grateful to announce that we have been in a position where we have invested in multiple different coaches. I have uncovered so many amazing lessons that I've applied towards my life. And all of those lessons I've learned by deciding to move forward and invest in a coach has now given us the freedom and the ability to coach others on a lot of the same crap that I went through.
Yeah.
That would have never happened if I didn't change my might have into a must have. Now, when we look at our client that did 6 figures in a day, one of the most radical shifts we saw was when she decided and they as a couple decided that no longer is our financial situation going to be like this.
Yeah.
It is success in this business is no longer a might have or a should have. It is a must have. And that switched their mentality. And we could see it as we track the success of all the clients we work with. We could see a radical shift. It was almost like a pendulum swing upwards when the mentality shifted. So let me ask you guys this question. If you want to model success and you want to apply this in your own life, let me just ask you guys, think about whatever goal you have in your life. Think about what that is. Maybe it's having a great business. Maybe it's having a thriving, connected, intimate marriage. Maybe it's having a thriving, happy family.
Yeah.
Whatever goal that is, ask yourself, is that a might have or is that a must have? Are you actually committed to doing what is required to make that dream a reality? Or is this just something you're dabbling with? That is the difference. Now, why this is the difference is because until the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change, no change will occur. But when you recognize that there is nothing more painful than staying where you are today, and you recognize that the change, though uncomfortable, will be less painful than what you're already experiencing, that is going to be the catalyst. That is going to be the spark that ignites you forward to making any sort of financial breakthrough that you desire. So that was shift number 1.
Yeah.
But there are 5 other shifts that our clients also made in addition to that in order to go from 6 figures in a year to 6 figures in a day. Yeah. Shift number 2 is...
Shift number 2 is more of a business shift. And this was specifically narrowing the scope of what she was offering. Okay. So a lot of entrepreneurs, and maybe you've been in this position before, we have ourselves, many entrepreneurs like to spread themselves too thin with too many offers, meaning they specifically will look at all of the, things that they want to offer out into the world. They'll create so many offers. And quite honestly, what ends up happening is they're like running multiple businesses within the business.
Yep.
Because for each offer, there's a specific segment of the market that they're targeting. There's specific marketing promotions and assets and things they have to create for that offer. If it's, B2B in this case, there's like different proposals and all these different things that go into offering multiple different things at one time. So specifically what we did when we looked at her business is one of the first things that we did is we were like, okay, instead of offering all of these different things, which she had the capability to do, instead, let's look at what's the sweet spot, right? What's the sweet spot in terms of what it is that you do, what you get the most results for your clients in, and like the thing that you enjoy the most. And being able to narrow that down really allowed her to go from offering multiple different offers that was costing her a lot of time, money, and energy to instead focusing on the sweet spot, which is what allowed her to actually take that and make that process in terms of offering that to her clients much more duplicatable. And she was able to repeat that success over and over again.
And when we say her or she, we're referring to the wife in this couplepreneur relationship. The wife in the relationship had her own business. The husband owned a separate business as well. So there were things that we did on both sides of the equation to really help move the needle forward. The first thing, like we talked about, the very first shift was switching their mindset from a might have to a must have. The second primary shift was looking at the wife's business specifically and narrowing the focus and narrowing the scope of the offer. So that way, what she was offering and all the energy that she was putting forth in her business was focused on what we call the sweet spot. And if you want to apply this, simply look at the things that you offer in your business and ask yourselves these questions. Where are we making the most money in the business? That's number one. What are we great at?
Yes.
What are we great at doing? And number three, what do we actually enjoy delivering on? If you can figure out the intersection between what makes you money, what you're great at doing, and what you actually enjoy, that intersection and that Venn diagram that you might be picturing in your mind is what creates a sweet spot offer. And when you can focus on the sweet spot offer and you massively just focus on marketing that on the front end of your marketing, everything gets so much simpler. Yeah. That's why if you read a book like Ready, Fire, Aim, you'll notice that when they study businesses that go from 0 to 1 million, 1 million to 10, and 10 to 50, and et cetera, really, if you're listening to this and you're between that 0 to 1 million in annual revenue basis, what you might realize is that focusing on sales and refining the sales process for one primary offer is going to give you the most bang for your buck. And that's exactly what our client did. This is huge. So if you're listening to this, think about how can I offer one offer that is in my sweet spot of what I am great at doing, what makes us a lot of money, and what we actually enjoy. If you do that, you are following in the footsteps of success and applying shift number 2 out of 6. Yes. Shift number 3 was...
They started holding what we call FPTC meetings each week as a couple.
Yes, FPTC. We're going to explain what that means in a second. But this is a strategy that you and your significant other can implement immediately, starting today. And the reason why we had them implement this is because, like many other entrepreneur couples, you might find yourself operating in silos. What I mean by that is whether you own a business together or you own businesses separately, it can sometimes feel like you are on one side of the house, your significant other is on the other side of the house. You both are operating in completely different realities and completely different silos, so to speak, where you feel like you're just two ships in the night, not really taking the time to align on what matters most. And if you're in that position, listen, that's normal. And Ariel and I have been there multiple times. Early on in our couplepreneur relationship, we were in this state a lot where Ariel was building her business on one side of the house. I was building my business on the other side of the house. And we regularly came together to talk about our two different businesses during lunch and dinner. But here's what we never took time to align on. We never took time to align on the revenue and the finances that were accompanying the different businesses that we were working on. So what happens is that if you and your significant other aren't aligning on the financial goals of the household, you might find yourself in a situation where we found ourselves in. We would regularly want to make investments as a family, as a unit, but not understand why we couldn't do it. It was a point of tension. Do you remember that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like one of us would want to invest in maybe a coaching program. Another one of us wanted to maybe invest in a house. One of us maybe wanted to buy a nice car. And when we went to pursue those purchase decisions, we were like, wait a second, we don't have enough money for this. Like, why don't we? Like, you're working all day, I'm working all day. Why don't we have enough money?
And we both had our own individual revenue goals for our own individual businesses, but we never actually came together and discussed what does this look like for our family and for our lifestyle.
Right. Because if you're not alone. Like, this is something a lot of entrepreneur couples go through, just like us and just like our client. They were operating two different businesses and they felt like they were in complete silos. The husband was operating one business. The wife was operating a separate business. And they didn't have a cadence, a weekly meeting to come together to talk about FPTC. But once they started implementing FPTC meetings, that's when things started to shift. Now, what does FPTC stand for, Ariel?
FPTC stands for Fastest Path to Cash. So fastest path to cash meetings.
So what would happen is the couple would come together on a regular basis every single week, and they would start asking each other, between our two businesses and to hit our financial goals, what is the fastest path to cash? And anybody listening to this, you can follow in the footsteps of our client and ask the same questions amongst you and your significant other. What is the fastest path to cash? When they would actually do this and they would meet with each other and ask these questions, what happened was like actual plans came out of that meeting and they were aligned again on who was responsible for doing what to contribute towards whatever strategy and whatever the answer was to for that question.
Yeah. And specifically, one of the things that we see with a lot of couples is when they feel like they are doing a lot of the work and they don't really know what their partner is doing, it can create some tension where it feels like they are the ones driving the ball forward in terms of reaching the financial goals for the household, and they don't really know what their partner is doing.
Right.
So they feel like they're the only ones contributing and their partner is not, or maybe not as much as they are. So when instead you can have these fastest path to cash meetings, now there's a shared responsibility for how they're going to reach the goals that they both come together and set as a family.
100%. So how can you apply this in your own couplepreneur relationship?
Yeah.
It's simple. Number one, pick a time where you and your partner can meet every single week.
Yeah.
Number two, when you meet, ask this question and keep asking it until you have an answer that both you and your partner agree on. What is the fastest path to cash? If you do this, you will make the third shift that our clients made in order to propel them towards having a six-figure day, which takes us to the fourth shift that they made as we reverse engineered what this couple did in order to go from six-figure years to six-figure days. There were 6 major shifts. We just covered 3 of them. And now we get to go into more of the tactical side of things that they did to see a humongous result. Yeah. Shift number 4 that they made was...
Shift number 4 is they created a current lead inventory. So a current lead inventory. Now, what we mean by this is, and why this was so impactful for them is, like many entrepreneurs, most people over-focus on getting new leads, and they tend to ignore the leads that they already have. Yeah. And this was the case for this specific client. So when we started working together, one of the first things that we did was we said, okay, let's take an inventory of all the leads in your current network, all the people that you already have that may be interested in that primary offer that we narrowed her scope down to, right? So take a lead inventory and be able to look at how can you make money from the leads that are already in her network, so to speak. And what happened as a result is she started making sale after sale after sale of offers in her sweet spot, because these were people that she had already, they were connections to people she had already worked with. Those people knew exactly what it is that she did, how they could help. And it allowed her to really maximize that one specific offer that we narrowed down to. And it allowed her to make sales from, time, money, energy that she had already invested in the past.
100%. And what was so cool about this is, even though so many couples come to work with us because of our decade of marketing experience, in this particular case, we actually took so much of the marketing burden off of this client's plate.
Yes.
Because when she came to us, when the wife came to us and also brought her husband with her as well, and we looked at the marketing that they were doing, we actually advised them to stop doing the marketing that they were doing. Here's what I mean by that. You might find yourself in a position right now where you are posting on social media all the time, or you are rebranding your logo, or you are creating a new website, or you are, what are some other common things that people do?
Starting a podcast, going and guesting on podcasts, doing SEO, all the things.
Yeah, so there might be a lot of things that you're doing right now as a business owner, and we're not here to say that those things are bad. But when it's crunch time and it's time to bring in some revenue, a lot of that stuff actually doesn't matter as much as you might think. In this particular case, when we're looking at what allowed our client to go from 6 figures in a year to 6 figures in a day, what we specifically did is we shifted the focus away from all of the various marketing activities that can be done. And we started looking at what are the leads that you already have access to?
Yeah.
So when we advise couples and when we advise you to create a lead inventory, here's how you can apply this specifically in your business. Ask yourself this question. Who do we already have in our current network who might be a great buyer for what it is that we have to sell? Now, when I say the word network, this could be friends that you have on social media already. These could be emails that you already have on your email list already. This could be people on your text marketing list. This could be people who are friends of friends of friends of yours who would buy from you if they only knew that you existed. Because everybody listening to this right now, what you all have in common is you have a network of people who knows at least one person who could buy your thing. And if you focus in, like Ariel said, on a sweet spot offer and you reach out to the people that are already in your network, I bet there's going to be somebody listening to this that can get more sales without having to generate a single new lead. And that is how you can narrow your focus. And that is how you can apply shift number 4. Yeah. But that takes us to shift number 5, y'all, which is...
Shift number 5 is they implemented the two-call close. And this is pretty tactical. So if you're not already taking notes, I highly suggest you do.
Yeah. Let me ask you guys this. Anybody who is here right now and listening to this, have you ever met with a potential client or a potential partner for your business? You send over a proposal of what it is you offer and you hear nothing back. Has anyone ever been there before? If you have, again, you are not alone. I have been there. Ariel has been there. Yep. And it only takes a few times for me to do something, recognize a pattern and go, you know what? We're never going to do that again.
Doing this again.
We are not doing this again. And anybody listening to this, the good news is that you never, ever have to do this again. Yeah. Now, why is that? Because we learned a strategy years ago called the two-call close that eliminates any sort of idea of sending out a proposal or sending out a contract and waiting for a response.
Yeah.
So how do we implement the two-call close? What we're going to do is we're going to show you specifically how to implement it. And then we'll also talk about how you can implement this depending on what industry you're in.
Yeah, that's helpful. Okay.
Yeah. Let's just talk about what the two-call close is though first. What the two-call close is as follows. You have 2 calls that lead to a close. I think that we all got that based on context clues. But what happens on both of those calls? Call number 1 is a discovery call. Now, when I say the term discovery call, here's what I mean. Let's say you have an inventory of leads that are already in your network. You could reach out to those leads and you could let them know about what you're doing and you can invite them to hop in a call with you. That first call is call 1 out of the 2-call close. And on that first call, you are simply using that call to ask questions to discover and uncover the need that your prospect might have for what it is that you sell. So a discovery call is simply designed for you to show up and ask questions that get your prospects to clearly define, number 1, what is their goal? Number 2, what are the problems that they are facing right now that are keeping them from their goal? And number 3, how does what you offer bridge the gap and provide the solution to the problems that they want to solve? Yeah. So as you're walking through the 2-call close, on the first call, you're asking questions to get them to identify those things. And if you want a very simple acronym to remember this by, to help you on all of your sales calls moving forward, just remember the acronym GPS. G stands for goals, P stands for problem, and S stands for solution. So if I'm on a call with you and I ask you questions about what you want to accomplish, and I ask you questions about what the problems are that are keeping you from what you want to accomplish, if I mention to you that what we actually have to offer aligns exactly with how to allow you to speed up the results that you get to allow you to achieve your goal while eliminating the problems in the process, how much more likely are you going to have interest in whatever it is that I have to offer? Very likely. So at the end of that first discovery call, all you have to do is offer to get on another call. And that is what she did. Now, this specific client is in the B2B industry. So of course, like some of these contracts are rather large, and the 2-call close is great for B2B. It's great for construction. It's great for some of those larger deals. And again, we're going to show you how to apply this even if you fall out of that industry.
Larger deals or more proposal-based deals specifically,
100%.
where it's not just like here's your one single price for your offer. There may be a little bit of variance depending on the specific needs and tailored things for that particular client.
Yeah, exactly. So even an agency could use this very, very well. And actually, a lot of agencies do use this very well. So you've already completed the discovery call and you used GPS, which is the framework to help you navigate your sales call, just like a GPS help you navigate driving a car. Now that we know that, that leads to the second call. Now, what is the second call in the 2-call close designed to do? The second call is 100% designed to walk your prospect through the proposal while you are on a Zoom call with them.
Yes.
So if you've ever wondered how in the world can I send out proposals and not just be ghosted? How in the world can I send out a bid? How in the world can I send over what it is that I want and then actually get people to respond to me? The answer is you don't send it out to them. You review it on a Zoom call live with them so they have the opportunity to ask you questions about it. And you have the opportunity to read their body language, check in with them, make sure they understand, make sure they can see the opportunity and answer any question that they might have in order to empower them to make a decision to either move forward with you or not on that call.
Yeah.
Can you guys see how this is different than the average strategy that a lot of people do? Well, we taught this to our client and oh my gosh, it was like, this was one of the biggest shifts that she made strategically, specifically for the wife in the situation. Like she was doing a B2B sales deal and this type of strategy eliminated the back and forth of waiting to hear back from decision makers on whether or not they were going to accept the proposal.
Yeah, because typically what happens, and this is maybe you've experienced this, is people will have a discovery call, they'll get off the call, create the proposal, send the proposal, and wait for the people to respond.
And then it's just crickets.
Versus what we're suggesting is do the discovery call and then do not send over a proposal.
Never.
Instead, at the end of that first discovery call, schedule the next call, which we call the proposal call, to go over the proposal with them without having sent the proposal in advance.
Yep. So let me ask you guys, anybody who is listening right now, would you like to close more calls and have less people ghost you? Would you like to close more sales and have less people ghost you? If the answer is yes, then maybe you are in the position to try the 2-call close for your business. Now, how would this specifically apply to, let's say, somebody who's not in the B2B space, they're not in the construction space, they don't send proposals, they don't send bids. How would you still apply this for them?
So there's 2 different ways we could apply this. Number one is from like a partnership perspective, which maybe I'll let you talk about.
Yeah.
But the other way is, have you ever been on a sales call and maybe you just have like one program or one offer and you don't need to send like a custom proposal, right? If that's the case, then what you may have also found is you could typically close a lot of your sales in one call. But how many times have you been in the position where that's the goal and you still have people that want to think about it, want to talk to their spouse, need to run it by another decision maker involved, depending on what the business is, right? If you've ever encountered that, typically what most people do, they maybe try to handle the objection at first, and then they go, okay, well, let me know. And they expect a message or a text or an email back from the person if the person does decide that they do in fact want to move forward. Whereas instead, what you can do to apply the same principle is instead of just doing your one call and then letting them go off and think about it and come back to you, what you can do is you can actually set the next call on the first call. And that second call is designed for them to provide you their answer or to ask any other questions that they may have and or to walk them through the onboarding steps or the next steps to actually getting started with whatever they're purchasing. Right. So what this means is you can do the discovery call if they still want to go off and think about it or talk to their partner or whatever else it is, handle the objections. But then from there, you can then say, okay, cool. Totally understand that you want to talk with your partner. We actually encourage that. How about we set up another call? And that way we can use that call to answer any questions that you or your partner may have. Or if you guys are ready to get started, we can also use that call as an opportunity to just walk through the next steps so you feel clear on everything getting started. So that's how you can apply the same principle, even if you don't need to go off and create a proposal. It's just you can still create this 2-call process if, in fact, your prospect does need to go off and think about it or do something else before giving you an official decision.
Yeah. I mean, think about this. If you have a sales call at all as a part of your sales process, then if you are working through the objections on a call and answering questions that your prospect has, and they're still like, they just won't do it. And this is usually when you sense that there's a stone wall. There's a stone wall of like, we need to think about it. We're not going to make a decision now. At that point, rather than trying to break through the stone wall, you just set another call. So that is a beautiful thing that all of you guys can have in your back pocket. Now, of course, if you don't have a sales call as part of your process at all, that's totally okay, because this whole strategy will still apply towards other things in your business. It will apply towards hiring team members when they have to think about it and you make a proposal to them. This will apply towards working with affiliates and partners and influencers, if that's something that you want to do. Anytime you are creating an offer and you have a call with somebody and they don't make a decision, then you can implement the 2-call close. Does that make sense? Hopefully this is helpful for you guys, because this is one of the things that shifted the sales process dramatically and has led to our client going from 6 figures in a year to 6 figures in a day. This is one of these 6 major shifts. We just covered 5 of those 6 shifts. So now, last but not least, the 6th and final shift that they made was as follows.
This is what we call a new attitude for the new altitude. New attitude for the new altitude. I'll let you talk about this.
Yeah. And I know that sounds kind of cheesy. New attitude for the new altitude. But here's what we mean by that. If you've hiked on a mountain before, you already know that the closer and closer and closer you get to the top of that mountain, the thinner the air gets.
Yeah.
And when you get to that new altitude, at first it's kind of hard to breathe, isn't it? But the more you continue to walk up the mountain, the more that your lungs continuously adapt to the new altitude, all of a sudden, what was hard to breathe in becomes normal.
Yeah.
The same is true for success in business. The same is true for success in business. What do I mean by that? When our clients were going from record revenue month after record revenue month after record revenue month, sometimes having 6-figure years, and then all of a sudden having record revenue months and a 6-figure day. How many of you guys know that that's a whole new altitude that our minds and our bodies and the way that we operate has to adjust to?
Yeah.
No different than our lungs having to adjust to the difference in the air at the top of a mountain.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we worked on with this couple specifically, but we've also worked on this for many different couples, including ourselves, was knowing how to actually adjust our attitude for the new altitude of success. Because I don't know if you guys are like us, but if you are, you might have found yourself achieving a new financial milestone and going, oh my gosh, can we actually handle this?
Can we actually handle this? Am I worth being paid this much? Mm-hmm. Do I need to over deliver for this client in order to feel like it's worth them paying me this amount?
Right.
Right. You may have experienced this even in, a previous position, in a corporate position. If you get a promotion, right, there's this initial like freeze of like, oh my goodness, am I actually qualified for this? Can I actually do this, or can I handle it?
And if the answer to that is no, what you might find yourself doing is subconsciously self-sabotaging your success. I know I've been there.
Yes.
Like I remember when I was in my early 20s and I was making more money per year than everybody else in my family combined. I actually got a little nervous. I was like, oh shoot, like I don't know how to handle this. I don't know, like we have to pay taxes. What are those? Am I being a good steward of the money that I have? Am I giving enough? Am I saving enough? Am I investing enough?
Yeah.
Like, am I growing the business how I should? Can I even like handle this responsibility? Like, shoot, I have more responsibilities than ever now. Our expenses are higher, even though our income is higher. Can we actually handle this?
Yeah.
And if you've ever felt this way, y'all, you're in good company.
Yeah.
Because you are in a community of other successful couples in business. And this is something that we all go through. Yeah. Why? Why do we experience this? If you've ever felt this way before, the reason why we experience this, it's actually not as magical or as mystical as it might feel or sound. It actually just has to do with human psychology. Our minds do not know how to handle places that we've never gone. So the automatic response to achieving a new level of success that we've never seen before is fear. It's totally normal. You're not weird or bad or an imposter for feeling this way. But just because it's normal doesn't mean we have to continue that trend, right? Now, practically speaking, if you're listening to this and this resonates, anytime you reach a new financial milestone, you're going to feel a little bit of that fear. The air is going to be tight and you're going to feel it in your lungs and you're going to question whether or not you can handle it. But here's how you can tell your own mind that you can handle it in order to allow your lungs to adjust to the new altitude. How you can show your mind that you can handle it is exactly how we advise our clients to do. Yeah. All you have to do is take out a digital notepad. This could be in your notes, or I like to use Evernote in my phone. And you collect a list of how you have succeeded in the past when you felt the same way. Yeah. So let me just ask anybody listening to this. Have you guys ever been in a position in your life where you've reached a whole new level of something? Maybe it was a new position in your job. Maybe it was a new role that you're taking on. I'm sure parents listening to this could probably relate to all of a sudden going, oh my gosh, can I handle this? Yeah. Can I handle this? So if you can relate to this, then there probably are some times in your past where you have felt and questioned whether or not you can handle that next level. And you have. Yeah. The very fact that you are here today and listening to this shows that you have handled every single new level of success. So the strategy here is to take the memories of all of those times and put them in a note and review them on a regular basis. So for Ariel and I, the way that we've been able to make and sustain new levels of revenue as we continue to grow is by reminding ourselves that at every single revenue stage, we have been able to handle it. Yeah. Therefore, we are signaling to our mind, it is not scary to advance. We are actually safe to advance. Yeah. And that is a strategy. That is the strategy that has helped our client go from 6-figure years to 6-figure days. And honestly, is on track to do more in profit this year than she did in revenue last year. And she and her significant other, this couple, this amazing couple, are more aligned and on fire for each other than we've seen in the last year of working with them. Yeah. And why is that? That's because they've applied all 6 of these shifts. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this, because if you've ever wondered how to go from making 6 figures in a year to 6 figures in a day, these 6 big shifts are what has helped the couple in our coaching community accomplish just that. So if you want to follow in their footsteps, go ahead, test out those 6 shifts that we talked about today and let us know how it works for you.
Yeah.